Okay, so welcome everybody. It's very crowded, and I'm very happy to show you an overview of the art direction and the production pipeline we use to create Heavy Rain. Being there, talking from this side of the desk gives a lot of emotion, and it's quite a good thing because at Quantic we really love emotion. So the title of this session is How Art Was Used to Create a Unique Cinematic Experience. So just remember a few words of this title, create a unique experience. Because when we start Heavy Rain, it was really in our mind, not just making a good game, by creating an experience. Sometimes it succeeds, sometimes it fails. So first, let's talk about Quantic. We have been established in 1997 in France. So I think that my accent speaks for myself. We are 100 full-time employees, and we have in-house motion capture facility, a 3D scan, and a sound studio. We also develop experience based on emotion, as I already said. Heavy Rain is a new format. It's called interactive drama. It's a blend between film and game. It has been released last year, exclusively on PS3. So who am I? I don't even know myself, but I can give you some key points. My name is Christophe Rousseau. I'm the graphic director of the studio. And I start in the old garage game time in a company called Delphine Software International. They do flashback. So I joined them for the sequel. Thank you. Thank you for them. And I work on Motor Racer on PC and PS1. I left the company to move to the movie and commercial industry. And I came back to video game as a lead set in 2001. And I work on Fahrenheit, the Indigo Prophecy in US, and on Heavy Rain. How many people play to Heavy Rain in this room? No. Okay. So I will just show you a quick trailer for people who don't play Heavy Rain.
Are you prepared to suffer to save your son? You have 5 minutes to cut off the last section of one of your fingers in front of the camera. If you succeed, you will get your reward.
Agent Norman Jaden, FBI.
Evening. My name's Scott Shelby. I'm a private detective. I'm investigating the case of the origami killer.
I'd like a room.
Manson, Page, 27, single.
Ethan Mars has had psychological problems since his first son died. He is haunted by visions of drowning bodies. A few weeks ago, after one of our usual sessions, I found this on the floor. It must have fallen out of his pocket.
Ash, I want you to assign every available man to finding Ethan Mars. I want you to keep an eye on the train stations, the airports, the bus terminals. I want every cop in the city on his ass, so that if he moves, we know about it. You're gonna die, you son of a bitch!
I swore on my son's grave that I would kill the man who murdered him.
Just don't believe he's guilty.
Your other son, Mr. Shepard. What was his name?
Everything I did for love.
So it's a little bit darker, but let's go. Let's talk about few main topics. First, the story. After that, how we create the world of Heavy Rain and the characters. How do we animate them? And the fifth main character. So what is the vision behind Heavy Rain? First of all, we wanted to create an experience that engages the player emotionally and explore the potential of interactive storytelling. But we are also targeting a much more mature audience. Heavy Rain is a new genre. It's not based on challenges. There is no boss to beat, no solving puzzle. There is no game over. You can lose one of your main characters, but you can still play the game and continue to discover the story in the way you choose. Heavy Rain story is a multiple path story, so we have to write it and also to produce it. All the different paths. So some numbers. Because Heavy Rain is a massive project, 2,000 pages of script. It's very huge. Because we have to write all the paths, all the dialogues, all the gameplay, all the mechanics. It means 70 unique sets, 4 main playable characters, 20 secondary, additional, many days of mock-up shooting. Hopefully we have an in-house facility, so it's much more easier for us. Many body animation, many facial animation, a lot of localization, and 60 scenes. So Heavy Rain has a 2,000-page script. We start by reading it. And believe me, it's a huge task. We do an initial list of mood boards to identify some specific places directly taken from the script. We do some visual research to identify a city, a place where the story can take place. So it starts with some sketches, picture, some mood board, maybe some K-color board, some rough art concept on some specific scene. Here it's the crime scene. I don't know if you remember, but it's a huge scene in Heavy Rain. And also color board, just to handle the feeling and the look and feel we wanted to make on Heavy Rain. We identify Philadelphia as a potential city, but we wanted to avoid doing a French postcard vision of this city. And believe me, it's hard, because I'm not an English fluent guy. So we use a movie scoot to tour to Philadelphia. We take a plane and go scooting. But we don't stay in the center of the city, the historical center. It's quite pretty, but it doesn't match to the script. We try to go deeper to the suburbs, from the middle-class suburbs to the poor area. The main goal was to avoid having a kind of ideal vision of this city. So by taking pictures, we identify some visual grammar, but I will talk about it later. many pictures, and sometimes some dangerous meeting. Because specifically in this picture, I remember that we were taking picture with a team, and the scout say, "Go in the car." We don't notify that someone is coming with a gun and asking why we were taking some picture of his district. So I get in the car, never left it, and we do all the scouting and the scouting by the car and from the car. No, I'm kidding. just for this part. So we also went to an industrial area, trying to find a warehouse, whole power plants, piers. We also visit people living in Cape Cod. We go to a police department, hospital, office, newspaper. I can't put images in my slide because there is some privacy NDA, but we are very proud to be able to scout this kind of location, because without a scout, it couldn't have been done. So we came back with a new understanding of the city and sometimes emotion. We have a huge documentation with many pictures, many video references. We also identify what we call a visual grammar. I mean, I don't know if you notice in the picture, but there is many warehouse, bridges, electric pole, electric power plant, many things very linked to industrial, past industrial. So we took these elements and we try to dramatize the vision, because Philadelphia is just an inspiration. Because Heavy Rain is a blend of game and movie, we decide to recruit a design team very close to the movie industry. So set designer and architect are in charge of creating and building realistic location at human size and very precise blueprint. Interior designer and researcher provide a precise vision and documentation for the production team. Set concept artists are in charge of illustrating the vision and providing final art concept, and specifically light setup. And the CG artists were in charge of giving a virtual life to all these visual researches. So, their goals. First, creating realistic location at human size. What does it mean? Usually in video games, all the location and spaces are very large, huge, like stadium, because, we need to avoid collision issues and camera issues. It's easier. But we don't want to do that because we really want to be close to a movie. So we can't afford that. It's also very hard to keep a realistic dimension because visually, when it's wrong, you can see it very quickly. We also find visually and strong atmospheric location. specifically by scouting. We also have to ensure consistency regarding characters and gameplay hotspot. Because we are talking about a game close to movie, it's a blend between game and movie, we need to match location and characterization. But also, we have to manage all the gameplay hotspot, specifically to be able to match to the main mechanics and the plot. We provide K-color on each set and scene. For people who play to Heavy Rain, they can notice that there is a huge gap between the beginning of the game and the rest of the game. I mean, before the accident and after. Before, it's very bloomy, colorful, very clean. It's a kind of ideal life. And on the rest of the game, every color is color wash. It's rainy, very few saturation. It's very diffuse light. It's chaotic and dirty location. We do that just to improve the feeling of the happy time versus the bad time. We also provide invisible storytelling. So what is invisible storytelling? Imagine the first time you go to someone else's house. When you enter a room, you can identify many things at the first sight. Maybe it could be a huge amount of books or comics, baseball stuff, domestic mess, TV set or no, furniture style. All these elements provide you information on the people living here. This is what we try to do in Heavy Rain. We don't want to tell the past of the main character during hours of cutscene and dialogues, because remember, we had 2,000 pages of script just for the main plot. So we try to provide visual background, small pieces of their life. And also we ask the artist to make it stunning, but depressive. The initial design has been developed in 15 months. So what is the design process? The design process is quite simple. We first build some sketches and blueprints for each location. And we need to respect the gameplay hotspot. We built in parallel a 3D placeholder of a set. It's gray boxes and visual documentation packaged in mood boards. We test the 3D placeholder directly in real time in the engine. And when it's validated in terms of gameplay, animation, camera, we can finalize the art concept and the documentation, package it, and it's go to production for outsourcing or insourcing. So here is some example of the blueprint. So remember, it has been done by architect, so it can be built. And sometimes we had to stop them because they want to add details and too realistic details, but saying that we need an electrical plug here and we need that. And no, stop it. We are making video game. We are not building a house. And also they had a hard time when they came back to the movie industry. Because with video games, we are very strong. We can do anything, just in 3D. When they came back to the movie industry, it's hard. There is some budget, and wow, when you're trying to do an office in a church, you have to find it, you have to budget it, you have to build it. So here is some mood boards and picture references. They provide a huge documentation on materials for modeling and shading. It's also give to the artist some messy places reference. I mean that it's always hard to put some chaos in a set, except in fantasy games. But every object position has a reason in the everyday life. When you go home, you throw your book on the sofa, newspaper on the table, and it has a meaning. It needs to be real. So providing chaos needs to be to provide consistency on the set. And we've got a precise mood board for furniture too. You can see on the bottom left the gray boxes. And here is a material board reference for shaders and specularity. And the concept art gives atmosphere, key colors, and light setup. So this concept art is taken from the Heaton house. This one too, his bedroom. And so it goes on. So many art concepts, because we have many locations. And sometimes light setup will change in the same location. So it doubles the number of art concepts. Sorry, my computer is slow. So the outside. Let's go to the production team. So in-house, we are organized in small core team for each type of asset. Each core team is in charge of producing, managing all the sensitive art and technical driven assets, and polish all the data coming from the outsourcing partner. So you can see that it's not a huge team. In fact, we have really a small team, but with very skilled artists. And we also do many months outsourcing. So the set creation process, it's placeholder, real-time testing, production in the Maya viewer, icing, I mean polish, doing the lighting setup, putting the visual effects, and doing the post-processing. So you will saw a little video. It's a placeholder, and you've got the data coming from the outsourcing, and after that, the polishing. I think you can see the difference. in this video, you saw the real-time testing. So just do a pause. We've got some dimension constraint because every set is recreated during the mocap session. So in this video, all the red objects mean animation, maybe gameplay and interaction. And for the blue surfaces, it means hand contact. So when we send it to production, it means that 3D production, but also animation and mocap production. So when we've got a 3D placeholder like that, we just have to recreate it on the mocap facility and do the shooting. And in parallel, we can also produce the polished set. And this is the final result. Testing. So we can also validate collision. We can improve motion kit. We can test camera shot. So everything. It's a kind of a skeleton for the production. It's the same for the cinematic. It's a kind of 3D storyboard. So we can solve some technical issues, visual issues, many issues, in fact. Let's talk about the design of the characters. So on the character side, design is slightly different because Heavy Rain is based on emotion, story, and characterization. So characters are one of the main focus. We need to find actors able to play, to give emotion, to perform a scene, like in the movie. So everything starts with a casting to identify the right actor, and we do the same for the main characters, but also for the secondary one or for sidekicks. After that, fashion designer and art concept provide mood boards and a final vision of the character. Everything is packaged for production. So here is some picture taken from the casting. So the casting is done from board by agent, but also we've got video casting with dialogue and scene to play. This is Mr. Shelby. Before it was Ethan. And this guy is not really an actor. It's a guy who come in a casting, a free open casting, and we say, oh, it's got a good look for one of the secondary character. So get on board. This is a classic fashion design board with many details, rings, all this small detail matching to the characterization. And after that, final art. We also do, not in this case, but we also do what we call the turnaround, just to help the artist to do the body modeling. So on character, the process is quite classical. We do a photo session, 3D scan session. We do the resurfacing in ZBrush, and we produce and finalize the skin shaders and specific visual effects directly in the Maya plugin. The animation setup is also, rigging and skinning is also done in Maya. We do animation and for body and for facial. So this is a classic photo shooting. Same guys. This is a 3D scan. So you can notice that it's not a magic tool. It's quite precise, but we lose many details in some specific area, like here's convex surfaces or airs. So it's not a 360-degree scan, so we are not able to perform a full body scan. Concerning the resurfacing, we develop a tool that enables us to project a face template to match the 3D scan. So it's quite useful and very quick because it ensures that each face has the right topology for muscles and facial animation. And all the micro details of the flesh, I mean wrinkles, imperfection of the skin, are added in a ZBrush. You can notice too that this guy is going much more a badass. So because we think that his face was too flat, so we try to make him much more aggressive. So sometimes we have the freedom to change a little bit to improve the characterization. The body is totally built in ZBrush. It's finalized in Maya and in the QD viewer. And the polygon budget is close to 20,000, approximately 10,000 for the head and 10,000 for the body, depending on the fashion design. We also do facial animation, so we can test facial expression directly in the QD viewer. So it's not blend shapes. It's a bone-based system. So let's talk about the tools. After Fahrenheit, we've done a huge post-mortem, and we asked the R&D to build a real-time viewer. Directly integrated in Maya, because we really think that real-time visualization is crucial in terms of production. But for artists, we use Maya 8.5, integrated an OpenGL engine viewer, directly linked to a PS3 remote, so we can send automatically the data directly to the PS3 dev kit. So the QD Hypershade, it's a nodal material editor. We've got our own shaders. We've got real-time on shading network and lighting. The advantages, it's improved the artistic control. We can build simple and complex shaders. It's an artist-driven shader. There is no need of a code. It's easy to recruit because when you're coming from the CG and you know Maya quite well, it's the same. But there is some disadvantages. It means that you can build many shading networks and very complex. So artists need to become much more technical. the Maya real-time viewer and the PS3 remote. So we've got, as I say, real-time feedback on shaders, lighting, animation, visual effects, and particles. The main goals are always improving the artistic control, polish, decrease time-consuming export. I mean, when you have to export, check in the engine. So you saw some bugs where you need to do some visual retakes. You came back to your package, do the retakes, re-export. So it's boring. And it spends too much time, specifically on Fahrenheit. So we say, no, we need to have a much more smooth pipeline. We also can do much more iteration. The post-processing editor. So it allows us to manage post-processing as a 2D composite layer. As you can see, the GUI is very close to the Photoshop style layer. So it's really easy to handle for juniors and for seniors. We can do many iterations without changing any data. So we can add a layer for saturation, for contrast, for light, for luminance. We can add a depth of field, and we've got the real-time feedback. So everything is compiled in a kind of preset. You save it, and you can send it to the camera department or to the script, and they can change dynamically the rendering. So for prototyping, it's quite useful, and for the final tuning too. We also had two tools. It's an ambient occlusion manager. I'm talking about EveryRain because now we don't use it, but on EveryRain we are baking ambient occlusion. It was a huge atlas sharing, quick baking, much more quick than Mentor Ray. And we can do some retakes in 2D package. Send the atlas to Photoshop, fix some bug, and get back to the engine. The other tool, we are still using it. It's the ambient control. It's a curve-based editor. We can animate all editable parameters from any type. So light intensity, meshes, specular power, skin shader, attribute, texture map, mask, everything. So animating characters, the body part. So we've got 28 Vicon. I'm talking of an old time because now we are 74. The marker set is 55, and we have many days of shooting. We also use some stuntmen because there is some dangerous session. Fighting, falling. You will see a video. So we also need to have some generic skeleton with some archetype matching to the stuntman. So the performance is split. So we can reuse many small part of a session. There is massive work on preparing the props. As I said previously, we can build for real on the mock-up facility each set. So each set needs to be rebuilt, and we've got a script always taking notes of any changes during the session. It requires a new approach of directing because actors have no references. And also, it's a huge investment from actors and long-term collaboration, because we shoot many days. And we really need to have the actors in-house, because they are doing the body session, but also the facial session. So on facial, we shoot with camera. We've got a much more complex marker set, because we need much more detail. Less day of shooting, but I'm not sure that I'm not sure that the actors agree. We do the facial capture and the voice recording at the same time. Facial animation is split from body, so it means that we can use any facial animation on any body animation. So it's quite useful, specifically when you're talking about of a game with many branching, many story branching. So it's very useful. You don't have to redo all the animation, because they are standalone. We also can do retargeting between characters, because the facial rigging has the same template for every character. But when you do the facial mocap, you need to have the same acting as the body session. So it's quite a huge issue for the actors. So let's have a look to a kind of making of. So I was supposed to show you some video of facial animation taken in real time. But we've got some issue between video and sound, so nothing is synchronized. It's not. It's an epic fail. So let's move on the fifth character part. I mean the rain. So when we scout in Philadelphia, it was supposed to be a rainy season. We spent 10 days scouting, and it rains one single day. Another epic fail. We were a little bit disappointed, so we start to build a huge collection of documentation about rain effect, just to identify the main aspect of this natural phenomena. So rain can be very different. It can be smoggy, very diffuse, heavy, hard, very aggressive. It change the color, the light, even the animation, because you can see that when it's raining, people always doing like that, because it's very aggressive. So with this huge documentation, the concept artists start to paint over a real picture of a rainy day, just taken from the web, and they try to improve, to maximize some of their aspects. I mean, light diffusion, reflection, saturation, specularity. And it gives us a better understanding of what we need to recreate. So you can see that it has been painted over. But rain, it's also small details. Skies. Light and diffusion of light. So I will show you in this video some example of wet environments in heavy rain. So this is the crime scene. The butterfly power plant. Some highway. A junkyard. The doghouse. The highway taken from the taxidermist. So in this video you can see the different layers we use to improve this rainy effect. So a quick overview, because we need to have some lack of time. Rain effects are not just compounded by layers of particles. Usually people say, let's do particles and it's raining. Okay. It's 2D layer and 2D sprite. We also add some atmospheric effect with camera shaders and post-processing effect. We change materials specularity, and we do many adjustments. We also add some procedural ripples. We've got also the bouncing effect by adding secondary particle. And we also use wind effect to create it by vertex wind. But I'm not very proud of this part because it sucks. Also rain. It's rain on props. There. But also on this car. So you can't afford to not having rain on a car if it's raining everywhere. But it's the same on the windows. It's very dark. So, as I say, rain interacts with all props. We had some reflection effect on transparent materials, animated normal maps, ripples effect, animated UV texture map to create some flow effect. We animated a mask and video for the whipper. It's not a dynamic fluid simulation. And we synchronize video with meshes animation. We also had to create other fluid effect, not just rain. For people who played Heavy Rain, there is a huge sequence when Madison had a shower. So this is not Madison, sorry. Next time. We also have a huge sequence when a car is floating. So we are supposed to do that in real time. It's a huge challenge. This sequence has been cancelled because it was too paranormal for the story. So the icing hasn't been finished. But in fact, we were flooding the Heathen house with water. So MISC effect done by dynamic particles, collider setup for the shower, secondary bounces also on the shower. We animated crack mask, meshes swap for explosion, for window explosion. We've got 2D decal also for crack windows, sprite, reflection materials. But what is water without fire? So let's burn. We do fire meshes and with a UV texture slide. Smoke meshes, UV slide. We fake also some lighting variation. Had some fire and sparkle particles. Reflection meshes for heat effect, additional smoke particles, and we need to do that for free 60-degree camera, and we need to avoid fill rate issues. So here is the final result. It spoils a little bit, but so, a conclusion. Everyone requires a lot of high detail and high quality data. Also, many tips and tricks, because we can't afford technically to do everything with real-time simulation. Rain is still, for me, difficult to simulate in real time. And the other challenge we have to solve was avoiding uncanny valley effect. It's been a real daily fighting. Interactive drama is a kind of juggernaut. Many data management, many things to produce, many paths, a huge testing step. And also it requires a new way to work, especially regarding the complexity. We hopefully add many tools to help us. The communication for us is quite crucial, because we've got some artistic team in-house, but also overseas, not on the same page because there is some cultural gap. We need also to communicate cross-department challenges. And also we need to communicate with publisher. Every Rain is not a first-person shooter, so you can't do a vertical slice of a story and say, oh, that's it. You can't do that. So in the early stage, we have one scene, we can test it, show show many graphics. But the project starts to be really strong when everything is built, so close to the alpha. Because you have the big picture. You can handle the story, the complexity of a story. So it's quite hard to communicate to publisher, but also hard to communicate to the team, because they always saw some details, some scene, some set, some characters, but they can't handle the big picture, even if they had read the script, 2,000 pages. So we had to communicate the art direction, to do micro synopsis, and always communicate internally with the team. We also had to make people more productive and creative, so build a solid pipeline, provide tools, and also increase the creation phase versus the data management time. So in conclusion, always try to be challenging, to be involved, and to bring new concepts to life. Thank you for attending. Thank you for your patience. Sorry for your ears. And thanks to the Quantic Dream team, because without them we can't ship the game.